Hey guys, it's Tony. Welcome back to the channel. I want to talk to you about a couple local card shops I went to this weekend. Both my boys have expressed recent interest in collecting some cards. I've tried to get them cards in the past, but it hasn't really stuck more than the packs I got them or the random ones that they picked up at the store themselves. But the older one did, and I went to the store to pick up a modern 2025, I think it was, football box for a few bucks, not anything pricey, kind of the lowest tier one, just to see what happens. But went there and also peeked around for vintage football and baseball cards. And this shop I had been to, I lived closer to the shop 10 years ago, the last time I was there 10 years ago. And I have a vague memory of not ever going back. I never went back because of the prices 10 years ago. And they've been consistent. Now, I can't speak to the prices about boxes, but the prices on vintage football, baseball, all the oldest stuff they have there were way out of the market, I think. I could have gone on eBay and bought some of these cards already graded, it felt like. And I verified this today for like a third of the price. And they were selling raw cards almost as if they were, and the old Beckett's right, the far right price of a card was the near mint price. They were selling it for that. And these cards were off center, had rounded corners, could have had a crease. I didn't waste my time even asking to look at them, just given the prices were just astronomically nowhere in the ballpark. So very interesting there. Maybe I'll give some food for thought about that later when I turn the camera around, but I did take some still pictures of the prices of a handful of cards. Now, I've been on YouTube about a year, or over a year right now, but have not ever tried to inlay or put in a still photo as I talk about it in my videos using the iMovie app. I know it can be done. I will see if I can pull that off, being as technically challenged as I am. So otherwise, I'll just talk about the prices and the cards. But if I'm lucky, you'll see a picture I took of the cards and the LCS's prices. And I'll talk about them that way too. So kind of disappointed about that. It's somewhat near my house and they're vintage. They had rows of singles that once I saw the prices of the star cards in the case, I didn't even want to open up and ask about the singles too. So a little bit disappointing there, but did buy the boxes for my boys at that shop. Went to a second shop and then found a nice dollar bin and found 20 cool cards for $16, 80 cents or so a card. Perused their vintage selection of singles real briefly too, not much at all. But again, it wasn't as, I think, egregiously overpriced, but there were cards off center with rounded corners that they had like near mint prices on them. So maybe these guys, and both of them did have a ton of Pokemon, a ton of modern baseball, basketball, football. Maybe that's where they make most of their money. And the vintage-based baseball and football is like theirs to catch people's eyes. And if they find someone who has an itch to spend that much money and they don't look up the prices in a guide or don't know what recent sales are, they'll just spend the money and they'll make some profit there, but they're not paying their mortgage on the vintage baseball and football. It doesn't seem like, there's no way, I can't imagine they sell that many cards at the prices they have there. So anyway, that's just a few thoughts about that. But I'll turn the camera around, show you these 20 cards I got for 16 bucks, talk about a bit more about the card shops. And if you're lucky enough to see me inlay a still photo, you'll see what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I'll just speak to it and tell you about the prices of what I saw. And curious on your thoughts too. Is this the way all local card shops are? Maybe I just picked a couple ones that are not the most vintage friendly, and maybe there's other ones that are more vintage friendly in your neck of the woods, where you have great dollar bin pickups, and kind of jealous of you guys that have some of those, because clearly the two I found so far. I need to find a third one or a fourth one that's a little bit better. So anyway, I'll turn the camera around, show you the cards I picked up, and we'll talk a bit more. So I'll see you soon. Bye. All right, guys, welcome back. And here are the cards I picked up. Should be 20 of them. They are in the dollar bin and got them for $16. And you'll see a theme right away if you know me and know my channel. So many of these are modern, meaning, 2001 and forward. I stopped collecting around 1995 because of, high school, saving for a car, studying in school and college. Just cards were like nowhere on the radar screen post 1995. So I had missed when a lot of these kind of retro / modern cards came out. So let's get to it. First one, 1954 Ernie Banks, of course, not the 54, but this is a Topps Archives from, I think, 2001. So I will keep that here. These are all from the early to mid 2000s. Ernie Banks, you can see there, Endless Summer Upper Deck Hall of Famers. Again, early 2000s, cool photo, cool, different view. And again, maybe that's what some of the lure of these modern cards, which I never had a real allure or kind of desire to collect modern cards of old players, but you get different photos, right? We all can memorize the photos of our favorite players from their playing days cards, but clearly they had other photos taken of them for, local newspaper, other reasons. And here's one from Ernie Banks, right? That doesn't really appear on a card in this type of way, but a cool photo nonetheless. So I'll keep that one right here too. Another cool one I found, this Fleer. It's got kind of a raised edges, so kind of cool there. Early 2000s again as well. Again, kind of a mock-up, different view of 54 Topps, but again from that mid-2000s area. Another modern Banks card. Oops. Another one yet still with the same 54 design, but different view of Mr. Banks. And lastly, here's one here, Legendary Cuts. All for a little less than $1. So very happy to see these. There were no other real, vintage Hall of Famers. It's like they had a bunch of Ernie Banks in this dollar box. Someone must have brought the cards in. Maybe they've been sitting there for a while. I'm not sure, but glad I found these and were able to add these to my collection. Next cards, 2001, I think, Topps Archives of Fergie Jenkins. And then, although not in a Cubs uniform, a Cub nonetheless, later in his career, Mr. Andre Dawson in the 81 Topps theme there. And I love more modern Cubs players too. You got Mark Grace in an 88 Topps themed Archives. I think that is Archives or something more modern card there. Another cool view of him. Here's the back of those two. Again, meant to look like 88 Topps was back in the day. And then I'm also a Greg Maddux fan. Grew up watching Greg with the Cubs. When he got traded to the Braves, yeah, I didn't like him as a Brave. Of course, he was amazingly good. But my grandparents were Braves fans. And so having cable for the first time in 6th or 7th grade, I could see either WGN or TBS. And so was still a Maddux fan no matter what. And I found this in the dollar box too. Again, it's a Sports Flicks card, I believe. Never was a big fan of these, honestly. Never bought the packs or had them, but thought this was cool for a little less than $1 to pick up here. You've got a Topps Finest Greg Maddux. I think this is 1995 Topps Finest 2. Moving into the early 2000s, you've got, again, a cool card there. And then this, I think, is from it says 95 in motion, but again, Greg Maddux Sports Flick. I forget what the name of this card is. There's a word for it. I can't think of it right now, but again, cool Maddux card there with the Braves in 1995. Now, this next one here is a shout out to Hodges 1455. He's talked about this player before, and I was a big player collector of this player too, and found this again in the dollar box. Mr. Travis Fryman, again, I think from 1997 Pinnacle, sponsored by Denny's. So there you go there. Back of that card is a cool foil type thing. And then got some football cards and miscellaneous non-baseball. So this is Lance Briggs, was an amazing linebacker for the Bears with Brian Urlacher, his rookie card there. My oldest son is a Kyler Murray fan, being here in Arizona, so got that out of the dollar box. And my youngest son is a Jason Tatum fan, so got that here as well. So don't tell them, these may be in their stockings for Christmas. So I'll leave that secret here on YouTube, so don't share with anybody, right? So yeah, those are the 20 cards I got for $16. Again, I've never been a big fan of the modern takes of cards, but seeing some of the different views of these players that didn't make it to their Topps or Bowman or mainstay runs is kind of cool too, especially like this one with the collared shirt underneath the Cubs jersey there. And again, some of these other ones here with, again, a little more design forward on them too is pretty cool. So I'll definitely go back to that shop and check out their dollar box in the future too. But this is where my YouTube technological savvy will show or not show. So the first shop I went to, and I'll see if I can put the picture up while I'm talking or have it be a still shot for a couple seconds, then talk about it later. So we'll see what happens here. But, I took pictures of several Mickey Mantle cards from the 1960s. Each of these Mickey Mantle cards were priced at, I think, $800 or $1,000 or more. They were ungraded, had rounded corners, definitely were not 50-50 centering, and the price stickers look like they'd been on them for quite a while. So maybe that's the proof there. They've been on there for a while. They're not meant to sell. No one's trying to buy them. They're more just kind of catching someone's eye. But they just surprised me how much they were priced at, given I know I can go on to eBay, Facebook, or any decent size show and find that same card already graded for a fraction. At least I believe I can. eBay at least confirms it, I think, for me today. I checked. Find them for a fraction of what these raw cards were going for. So that kind of turned me off. Like I said, the first shop I went to had a whole line of commons, neatly organized too by year, Topps, Bowman, things like that for baseball. All sleeved up in top loaders, but I just didn't even want to ask about them. And if I took a second picture too, which I hope can pop in here, or if not, I'll just tell you what it showed. It was a 1957 Topps Don Newcomb. So Don Newcomb was a rookie. A rookie card was in the early 50s, I think. Maybe 50 Bowman was his rookie card. Played into the 1960s, I believe. So 57 is like a mid-career card, right? I don't think Newcomb's a Hall of Famer. But this raw 57 Topps Don Newcomb card had a $100 price sticker on it. I bought one of those same cards earlier this year for like $10. Nicely centered, raw, mid-grade for $10 or less. And this one was showing with a sticker on it of $100. So pretty interesting. And the last picture I'll show is one of some commons. Some common, I think, cards, unless there's high numbers in 53 Topps. Maybe there are. But some common-ish cards from 53 Topps baseball. Priced, this one is priced, you can see, at $60. It's I forget what his name is. And again, if I don't see this, if you don't see the picture on here, it's hard to know and follow with me here. But it's a common player. I looked him up. I can find his raw card right now for $5 or less. And it was a $60 price sticker on this card, along with others in that photo I may or may not be able to show, including a 1979 Reggie Jackson, not perfectly centered, for $20. I can find that card on eBay probably right now for $1 or $2. But this shop had it for $20. So again, I get it. Maybe you're trying to make some money back on something, and maybe these cards don't pay your mortgage. The Modern, the Pokemon, the packs, the rips, the whatever else, the supplies pay your mortgage. But it's just crazy to have those prices on cards unless you're trying to potentially take advantage of somebody who is going down memory lane. They see an old card, someone they know, and they buy it, and I get every show has these cards. Every show has cards and dealers that are way overpriced. But there's lots of options, right? And with this, if you're there with $1,000 in your pocket to burn, again, I'm all for free markets, and two people want to make a deal, that's fine with me. But it was just a little frustrating that they would be priced that much higher in the condition they were in, not even graded. So it kind of turned me off to that shop in general. And like I said, I'd been at that shop probably 10 years ago and got turned off for a similar reason, though I don't remember why or what card exactly got me. But odds are I won't be going back there again. I'll try to find some other shops in my area who may have some better vintage singles, more reasonably priced singles too. So again, hopefully as you're hearing this right now, you have seen pictures embedded in the top left or right corner. I hope it works out. But if nothing else, I'm sure you all can commiserate with me that some people just, the cards are not near mint. They're not even excellent. But it's Mickey Mantle, has $1,000 price sticker on it, and maybe I could have negotiated it down, right? but I'm not in the market for that. And if I just go on eBay, I can find a card just like that, already graded if I want that, for like a third or a fifth or some small fraction of what I would pay at that shop. So, again, I'm all for free markets. You do what you want to do. If it sits there for 10 years, never sells, that's your feedback. That's on you. But it just had a weird vibe to it, that place. And so, again, hopefully you can see the pictures, and I'd be curious. I'm sure there's card shops where you guys all are across all 50 states that do the same thing, but I want to find a shop nearby me somehow that I can go diving into dollar boxes or even $5 boxes and find some cool vintage football or baseball singles, not priced so high where it just turns you off to even wanting to enter into a conversation. If it's close, you may want to still talk and ask, but if it's so far away, you just keep on walking. And that's just life. That's fine. So anyway, overall, I had a great experience this weekend at this card shop. Never dove in their dollar bins before, but cool picking up some Greg Maddux there. Some cool Topps Finest here. Love seeing Wrigley Field in the background there in the home Cubs jersey. And then again, like I showed you here, this may be my favorite. I love the fact it's raised. It's got it's not perfectly flat. Fleer did a nice job with this one here of Mr. Banks. So, and all these have his career statistics on the back. And again, he only played for the Cubs. Nice and easy with his Cubs statistics. Although now that I see this, it's kind of weird. This one stops at 1955. So I'm not quite sure why that is. He played in 53 and 54, so I'm not sure why it stopped there, but hey, cool card nonetheless. So, hey guys, thanks for watching. I'll be back this week with another video on 1971 Topps, 2 left on that, and then one more video on the Detroit Tigers and their early black players. So, hope you can tune in. Love your comments, love your feedback. Have a great rest of the weekend and week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.